In a world where busyness is glorified, Deep Work by Cal Newport offers a radical perspective. True value and personal fulfillment aren't achieved through relentless multitasking or the frantic pace of modern life. Instead, they come from the power of intense, undistracted focus on meaningful tasks. Newport's insights challenge us to consider a thought-provoking question. What if success, and even happiness, depend not on doing more, but on doing less with greater depth? This question cuts to the heart of Newport's philosophy, setting the stage for a re-examination of how we think about work, productivity, and ultimately life itself. Newport defines deep work as the ability to work on cognitively demanding tasks without distraction, a skill he argues is both rare and valuable in today's culture of constant connectivity. In his view, deep work is not only a path to greater success, but also a means of finding deeper fulfillment in a world that often pulls us toward shallow, superficial tasks. He contrasts deep work with shallow work, those tasks that, while perhaps necessary, don't challenge us or produce meaningful outcomes. Consider how much time we spend answering emails, responding to notifications, or engaging in surface-level interactions on social media. Newport argues that these activities dilute our focus, distracting us from work that could truly matter. And by allowing these shallow activities to dominate our lives, we may feel productive but lose sight of the work that genuinely brings value, satisfaction, and accomplishment. The core message of deep work is not just about productivity. It's about reclaiming a way of life that prioritizes quality over quantity. Newport suggests that we have the opportunity to redefine productivity as something beyond merely getting things done. Instead, he sees it as creating meaningful, lasting contributions that come from a place of undistracted focus. In modern life, this approach is countercultural, precisely because it demands that we resist the constant urge to be busy and instead embrace the rare, valuable practice of deep focus. One of Newport's most impactful principles is the idea of embracing boredom. In today's world, we're accustomed to reaching for our phones at the slightest hint of stillness. Newport argues that this addiction to distraction is a major obstacle to deep work because it conditions our brains to crave novelty, making it nearly impossible to focus on a single task for long periods. He suggests that we practice tolerating boredom as a way of training our minds for focus. The next time you find yourself waiting in line, or with a spare moment, resist the urge to check your phone. Instead, practice being fully present. This small shift in how we relate to boredom is a powerful step toward building the kind of focus that deep work requires. The book goes on to tackle the myth that multitasking is a productive skill. Newport argues that multitasking divides our attention, reducing the quality of our work. Studies show that switching between tasks can lower productivity by as much as 40% because of the cognitive cost of task switching. By debunking the myth of multitasking, Newport encourages us to embrace the power of single tasking, focusing on one thing at a time. This focus allows us to not only work more efficiently, but also to experience flow, a state where we are fully absorbed in our work. Imagine the difference in quality and satisfaction when you immerse yourself deeply in one project, rather than constantly bouncing between tasks. It's a habit that, while challenging, can be transformative. To fully adopt the principles of deep work, Newport proposes we must unlearn several ingrained habits and assumptions. First, we need to let go of the belief that busyness is a virtue. In many workplaces, busyness is mistaken for productivity, but Newport warns that it often leads to burnout and shallow work. He invites us to unlearn this misconception, urging us to prioritize fewer, more impactful tasks over a packed schedule of menial ones. By focusing on what truly matters, we shift our energy toward high-quality output, aligning our efforts with our long-term goals rather than short-term demands. Another significant adjustment Newport suggests is rethinking our relationship with technology. Social media, for instance, often presents itself as a necessary part of modern life, but Newport argues that it's one of the greatest barriers to deep work. Social platforms are designed to captivate our attention, keeping us in a cycle of shallow, low-value interactions. Newport advocates for digital minimalism, using technology only if it genuinely serves our goals. He urges us to conduct a digital declutter, removing or limiting any tools that don't contribute directly to our values or professional ambitions. This requires unlearning the belief that we need to be constantly connected to stay relevant, and instead embracing the idea that intentional disconnection can lead to higher quality work and a more fulfilling life. Newport illustrates his points through inspiring examples of historical figures who mastered the art of deep work. Carl Jung, for instance, built a remote retreat where he would go for weeks to immerse himself in his work without distraction. There, he produced some of his most influential theories, work that might never have come to fruition had he not prioritized undistracted solitude. Newport isn't suggesting we all need a secluded cabin, but he does argue that setting up our own distraction-free zones, whether a dedicated home office or simply scheduled blocks of time, is essential for achieving deep focus. For professionals and business owners, deep work offers insights that can transform both personal productivity and career success. Take the example of Bill Gates, who famously took Think Weeks, where he would isolate himself with books and a journal, contemplating complex challenges. Gates used these weeks to dive deeply into ideas that shaped the future of Microsoft. Newport's message is that by carving out time for deep work, we gain a competitive edge, an edge that allows us to innovate, create, and develop strategies that might never arise in a world dominated by shallow tasks. Newport also introduces the concept of shutdown rituals, a habit of ending the workday with a clear boundary. This might involve listing tasks for the next day, writing down a quick reflection on the day's accomplishments, or simply setting a time to disconnect from work-related tasks. By practicing a shutdown ritual, we can reinforce boundaries between work and personal time, allowing our minds to reset. Newport sees this as critical because the mind needs space to recharge to be effective. By implementing these rituals, we avoid the mental burnout that so often comes with today's always-on mentality, preserving our energy and mental clarity for the tasks that matter most. In essence, deep work isn't just about changing our work habits. It's about shifting our entire perspective on how we relate to time and attention. By prioritizing depth over breadth, focus over multitasking, and intentionality over distraction, we can transform our approach to productivity, creativity, and personal growth. Newport's philosophy shows us that embracing deep work is more than a productivity hack. It's a pathway to a fulfilling life. When we focus deeply, we are present, engaged, and connected with our goals, ultimately leading to a greater sense of accomplishment and a clearer vision for the future. So, what's next for someone who reads deep work and feels inspired to take action? The first step is to recognize that the principles Newport shares are not quick fixes, but lifelong practices that deepen with time. As we begin to adopt these strategies, we cultivate a mind that is resilient against distraction, grounded in clarity, and committed to meaningful contribution. And in doing so, we reclaim not only our productivity, but our sense of purpose and direction. In a world that prizes speed, Newport's insights remind us that true success comes from slowing down, focusing deeply, and committing to the work that matters. To put these ideas into practice, here are 7 actionable tips from deep work. Block out time for deep work. Dedicate specific hours to deep, uninterrupted work. Treat these blocks as sacred appointments with yourself, guarding them from any and all distractions. Embrace digital minimalism. Limit your use of social media and other distractions. Consider a digital declutter by assessing which tools truly serve your goals and remove those that don't add value. Build focus by embracing boredom. Train your mind by resisting the urge to distract yourself during moments of boredom. This small practice can strengthen your capacity for deep concentration. Set up a shutdown ritual. End each workday with a ritual that clearly separates your work and personal time. This habit helps preserve mental clarity and reinforces healthy boundaries. Unlearn the busyness myth. Shift your mindset from busy is good to impact is key. Focus on fewer but more meaningful tasks that align with your long-term goals. Establish deep work rituals. Create a dedicated workspace or a set routine that signals it's time to focus. By setting up a focus-friendly environment, you make it easier to slip into deep work mode. Prioritize single tasking. Challenge the myth of multitasking. Instead, fully commit to one task at a time, allowing yourself to experience the satisfaction of immersion and the benefits of high-quality output. By following these steps, you'll begin to experience the transformative impact of deep work, reclaiming your time, clarity, and ultimately, your sense of purpose in a world that often pulls us in 1,000 directions. This isn't just about productivity. It's about living a life that values quality, depth, and intentional growth. And as always, remember, keep books over mind.